This video is going to be about sex-linked traits, and we're going to start with Thomas Morgan, who did experiments on Drosophila melanogaster. These are the fruit flies that I've talked about before, I think in an earlier video. He observed that the flies have 4 pairs of chromosomes. 3 pairs were identical in males and females, but there was 1 pair that were different in size and shape, and that's when the X and Y chromosomes were developed. So for the example that I'm going to show you today about sex-linked traits, I want you to pay particular attention to the fact that eye color in this type of fly comes in 2 versions. You have red eyes and white eyes. Okay, so during his experiments with Drosophila, one scientist noticed that a single male fruit fly had white eyes instead of the normal red eyes. So Morgan crossed the white-eyed male with the red-eyed, that should be red-eyed, change that, red-eyed female. And you can see this Punnett square here. So you have the white-eyed male and the red-eyed female. And the entire F1 generation was red-eyed. So you would conclude that red eyes are dominant. So the next step is that he took the F1 males and the F1 females. So we have the F1 here, that's the male, and the F1 female here. And he saw that the F2 generation was the expected 3-to-1 red to white, right? That's what we had during Mendel's experiments. During F1, the recessive allele was completely covered up, but in F2, it came back in a ratio of 1-to-3. But here's the trick. He noticed that all of the white-eyed flies were male. Now that's different. So the females were all red-eyed, but the males were 50% white-eyed and 50% red-eyed. So Morgan's conclusion was that the gene for eye color was carried on the X chromosome and that the Y chromosome didn't have an allele for eye color. So how did that experiment work? Okay, remember that F1 was completely red-eyed. So we have the XY, we have the red-eyed male up at the top here, and we have the red-eyed female down here. So what happens when we perform this Punnett square? We get X big R, X big R, X big R, X little r. So all of the females are 100% red-eyed. But what happens if you get to the males where the Y chromosome does not have an allele for eye color? So the phenotype for eye color for the males is going to be whatever is on the X chromosome. So in this case, it's red-eyed, and in this case, it's white-eyed. And this is what one of the scientists noticed, that of the white-eyed flies for the F2 generation, they were all male. So the conclusion is that if you have genes that are on the X chromosome, those are called X-linked genes, and genes like the SRY gene, which determines male gender or male, what would you call that? I don't know what you call that now, biological assignment or something. Anyway, what determines a male genetically is SRY, and that's on the Y chromosome, so that's called a Y-linked gene. So in general, a sex-linked trait is any trait that is coded for by an allele on a sex chromosome, whether it's X or it's Y.